Pritesh, I want to come back to you now and talk about that, because you started by saying that starting up is easy, scaling up is the challenging part. And what we have started to see already in the D2C space is that standalone brands are now being picked up by the FMCG big boys, so to speak. So, specifically, what are the problems with scaling up that you're facing at this point in time? And is that eventually going to have to be the future for a lot of the D2C players being picked up by the incumbents, the legacy incumbents, so to speak?
So the predominant challenges that we face today as a D2C brand is obviously COVID really helped us give a lot of tailwinds to the efforts that we were putting on our online efforts. With things opening up as well, it's more focused towards our omni-channel growth now. People have gone back to shopping in their traditional ways, which is offline as well. 92% almost of all retail happens offline in India. Our penetration on online is yet very nascent. So one of the things that we are facing today is, whilst we don't have much trouble in getting orders from our repeat customers, one of the things that has definitely moved quite a bit in terms of the cost factor is acquiring the new consumer to induce trials, and therefore make sure that we have a good lifetime value out of this customer. So essentially what we are having to face is having to spill out a larger sum of the money to get this consumer to try our product for the first time. And I think that has been a case for the last one odd year now, where it's consistently on the rise because of many brands trying to come in on the online space and also wanting a space in the same advertising field as we are. So the consumer online has not grown so much, but the number of brands that are playing within this vertical has grown multifold in the last year or so. So obviously the demand and supply is disproportionate at this point, and hence having to shell out a lot more money. The other thing that we are facing today is offline touch points were not so much available for us because we focus too much on D2C. Today, people also want to touch and feel the products, want to understand, want to speak to a beauty advisor, get a personalized regime going for their skin and hair care regimes, and that's what we are looking to focus on right now. But again, offline is definitely a much more expensive model because there is a lot of capital expenditure involved over there as well.
Malini, let me address that question with you as well. As Pritesh said, the cost of acquiring customers has gone up significantly because it has become a very competitive market at this point in time. How much of a challenge is that for you? What do you do to de-risk yourself? I know every brand is sort of trying to work on a strategy of communicating specifically with different kinds of communities that you wish to address, and perhaps to start with, profit will be in the niches as well for some of the brands like yours. But what's the strategy there on the marketing side? And more importantly, what are the challenges on the manufacturing side? Because we haven't spoken about that at all.
Sure. Shereen, about the increasing customer acquisition cost, I think that's common across the table because your inventory had remained the same, but there are multiple brands in the market with a lot of capital who are competing, and hence, it is becoming extremely difficult. A lot of brands are competing for the same consumer. So I think what definitely becomes important is, that sharp communication, as you already pointed out, right? So how well do you know your consumer? How well do you know your target group? And how sharply do you talk to them? And how sharply do you address their concerns and provide a solution through your communication? I think that's absolutely important. And, as a founder, for me, a lot of my time kind of goes into that. And that is something we consciously want to do going forward as well, because unless and until we actually talk about the product benefits rightly to the target group, they would not even know of it. And so we have seen that by being that sharp, customer acquisition costs can be addressed. And point number two around the customer acquisition cost is everyone is actually doing digital marketing. But apart from digital marketing, how else can you get a brand recognition is also very important. The word of mouth, so the quality of your products become important. And so how are you making those products is also becomes very important. That's probably where I think the manufacturer comes in, but probably I'll just pick that up later. Just continuing on this bit around the word of mouth and also multiple types of brand marketing is what I would call it. Like, how do you ensure that your brand is kind of made known to multiple people in the market through multiple means is absolutely important. Because as Pritesh was mentioning, right, you need to ensure that your brand kind of gets picked up by most people. And that only happens when you are there shouting out saying that, hey, listen, I am here, looking out for a need for yours. So, that can be done in multiple means. It could be probably done through influencers. I mean, that's a very tried and tested method, but you can pick up some sort of celebrities, or you can do it in multiple means. But the idea is, apart from the digital or the performance marketing, how else are you putting the brand out there and making sure that a lot of people are aware of it for them to even try out your brand? I think that's basically the crux of marketing comes into play, and that's we basically want to invest a lot of time there to reduce the customer acquisition cost. Coming to the manufacturing bit, yes. So we basically, as a brand, what we do is we try to do a lot of focus groups, a lot of consumer interactions before we actually bring out any product in the market. That also means that we take a lot of time to launch a single SKU in the market. So we usually do anywhere between six to 18 months of cycle of R&D that gets into each and every product. So we kind of try to understand the consumer and then kind of go into R&D with a brief of what the expectation of the consumer is and what they're expecting from texture to the ingredients to the kind of usage. So everything kind of gets decided by understanding the consumer and not the other way around. I think manufacturing is a difficult thing, but more or less it is kind of getting extremely, I would say commonplace, and it's kind of becoming more accessible. What I think we basically have faced issues around is in case if we are utilizing any sort of unique ingredients, and how do we kind of import them into India? But that is also, commonly solved through our supply chain. So I think the crux of it is how well do you R&D your product rather than the manufacturing part of it.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I would imagine that procurement is a challenge that Pritesh is also faced with, especially when you are dealing with things like organic, skincare, etc. But Shantanu, I want to understand from you, since you're already, you've clocked this mega milestone of 250 crores. How has the playbook changed from being able to get to the 100 crore milestone and now being able to get to the 250 crore milestone? What were you doing then? What are you doing differently today? And, what can we now expect going forward?
So I think I agree with Pritesh. I think COVID was a fantastic tailwind creator for businesses like ours, while being tragic at a social outcome level. But I think a lot of things fell in place. Our competitors had struggled with supply chain, etc. So I think the one big shift that we have made is we have really tried to create velocity for our products offline, right? Create the right assortment, be price competitive. A lot of our categories, from shaving to women's hair removal to razors, kind of sit offline. Consumers buy these offline a lot more than online. From assortment to merchandising to relationship with trade and building an outstanding sales force. I think there is a lot of different muscle that you need to build from an offline standpoint to create velocity for your products, from identification of stores to activating stores, to making sure that your sales force is able to deliver, to making sure that your shopkeeper is able to show, and there's discovery, and then the consumer is kind of served the right product and the consumer is happy. Once the consumer buys, hopefully the product kind of does its job from a repeat standpoint. So that's one big shift for us. The almost 50, more than half our business today is offline. And I presume that when we get from 250 to 500, that number will be 70%. And when you get from 500 to 1,000, that number might be 80%. And that's just the nature of Indian retail. As you scale, you have to build out more offline, right? The second thing I think is we raised capital. I think capital was a significant, accelerant for us. We raised almost 210 crores in our Series C. There was abundant capital. We had clear product market fit. We had a large market and slow incumbents, right? So we kind of fit the bill. So we have kind of smartly used that capital at a brand marketing level. I agree with Malini. I think a lot of things are expensive at the performance level. Thankfully, we have almost curtailed our performance spends to less than 20% of what they were before. So we are spending a lot of money on content, which includes doing podcasts and working with influencers and getting consumers to like what the company stands for beyond just the product.
Well, Malini, Pritesh and Shantanu, we wish you the very best of luck. And I do hope that that you get through the volatile times and the turbulent times that we are currently faced with and emerge stronger at the end of it. Thanks very much for joining us here on Young Turks, and we wish you the very best of luck. That's it then on this special edition of Young Turks. We are going to take a break. There's a lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere. Back in a minute with more.